Welcome to this segment of Farm Show TV. My guest today is no stranger to TV and certainly no stranger to agriculture. For 30 years, Bob Simpson was the host of CTV's Farmgate. He has officially hung up his boots, but he joins us in studio today out of retirement. I can't thank you enough for coming today, Bob.
It's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me. Much appreciated.
So first off, how does it feel to be in the hot seat when you hosted the show for 3 decades?
Totally different, of course. You'll be asking the questions and I'll have to answer them, so it'll be a lot different.
I have so many tough questions lined up for you. This is fun for me on so many levels, Bob. I grew up watching Farmgate, and it was really the only program in Saskatchewan that was dedicated to the issues affecting farming and ranching and the agriculture industry. It was coveted. Everyone watched Farmgate. Can you talk to us a little bit about the popularity of the show?
Yeah, it had great ratings all the way through, sometimes up a little bit, but for the most part, it was pretty static. But you know, our audience was not just rural Saskatchewan people, it was urban Saskatchewan people too. We live in a province that's agriculture based, so people from in the countryside and in the city were watching carefully all the time.
The show ran before the onset of social media. So now I feel like we can get news about agriculture whenever we need it. It's not always the stories that we want to hear about, but we've got Twitter, we've got Facebook, we've got Google, and we've got all kinds of access to shows. But for you, as you know, the creative mindset behind the stories that you would put on Farmgate, how challenging was it for you to piece together those shows?
Very challenging. For the most part, I was a one-man show, so I'd have a running file going into every week, and if there was something I had to cover, I'd go cover it. And you know, I had great resources too. There were resources at the universities. I could go find stories out of there too as well. So it was very challenging, but it was rewarding too. I enjoyed agriculture immensely and still do. But like you say, it's changed immensely now too because we have social media. I think people are picking up stuff off of social media. Some of it not the greatest information. I don't think it's true, a lot of it. But I mean, that's another issue too as well, I guess.
Do you have a farm background yourself, Bob?
I do. I grew up on a farm near Brooks, Alberta. It was a mixed farm. We had cattle, we had sheep, we had grain, we grew grain. So I got a good taste of agriculture there. And then I went to university, took some agriculture. Then I went into broadcasting school and took broadcasting as well. So.
Very good. I think without question your background in agriculture helped you be such an incredible journalist and be able to share the narrative that was the agriculture at the time.
Probably. I mean, obviously you can learn things too as you go, but it certainly did help. I mean, obviously agriculture is such a vast industry. There's so many things you have to learn, and if you have that base that you grew up on a farm, it helps a lot.
So I guess for the challenge that we have now on Farm Show TV is the access to the show. You know, people don't just tune in specifically to watch it. They can watch it whenever, it's on demand. They can watch it whenever they like. So we have to put together content that is relatable. And just like with Farmgate, for me as a farmer, I want it to be relatable to my farming peers. I want the industry to take ownership in the show. But we also have a consuming audience. We have the general public that is watching, and I would suggest that there's quite a lens on agriculture today and on the food industry. How have you seen the narrative change from when you were at Farmgate to what you see in the stories today about agriculture?
Changed again immensely. The whole industry has changed, and you know, there's less farmers. Farms have got bigger, and issues they've changed. I mean, obviously now we have, you know, things like glyphosate, the whole controversy about glyphosate, and those kind of things have to be science-based. And I don't know if a lot of people realize it, but we have to have those issues have to be science-based. Otherwise, you know, the farming industry is in lots of trouble. So there are things out there that have to be dealt with, and through the internet, they're not getting a lot of that information, I don't think, so yeah.
Well, I would say host to host that the challenge we have is a lot of these issues are incredibly complex. as you suggest, they are science-based. So when a network says, you've got 3 minutes, go and tell this controversial story that's out there today and do it the best you can and make sure that consumers understand it at the end, it's challenging for us to try to wrap up that whole story in that short time period.
It certainly is, and I think part of the farmers should be on base with this too. They have to educate the public out there, and it's their job to educate the public, and I think they have to get together through organizations, through your Farm Show TV, and try to get that message out there that we have to educate the public out there that the farming industry is safe, we're doing things right, and I think they have to do that for sure.
I've seen in my farming career, farmers have gone from probably at the start of Farmgate, you would have seen it too, there was a humility about farmers. We were quite humble people, and I would suggest not a lot of pride in the industry. I know when I first came back to the family farm, there was not a lot of excitement for what agriculture was to be. There was not a lot of young people coming back to Saskatchewan to farm. And now I've seen this real sense of pride in the industry. When I speak with my farming colleagues, young and old, they're quite proud of the industry. We've decided that it's okay to be proud of the industry. And now, we have this obligation to talk about what we do on a regular basis, kind of add that to our list. But what would you suggest are some of the topics that you're seeing and reading about that would be interesting and pertinent to the industry?
Well, environmental sustainability is one issue that should be covered, I think. The whole issue about renewable fuels too. The farmers nowadays, they're going to be dealing with, if we're going into a situation where renewable energy is going to take over and we're going to see less and less emphasis on fossil fuels, the cost of farming are going to go up. And I'm not sure what direction we're going with that. But those kind of issues have to be covered. For sure, those are two.
Not only was I a viewer of Farmgate, but I was interviewed by you on Farmgate a number of times, so this is kind of cool for me to be on the other side of it. You're kind of like the Oprah Winfrey of agriculture news. Would you own that one?
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, you can have a car. I don't have that ability to do like Oprah does, but yeah, first,
give me a car?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, I remember my first adventure into agricultural policy was as president of the Western Canadian Wheat Growers Association. And it was our job as an association to advocate for positive changes to the business of agriculture. And I remember we had a young board of directors, and we didn't have things like media training. We didn't know that there was certain ways to tell a story. All we knew was that we were farmers, we had issues affecting the farm, and we must influence those that can help us change these stories. Do you remember some of those interviews with young farmers coming out with no experience? Did you feel for us a little bit?
I did. Oh, for sure. And a lot of farmers, like you say, are humble people, and so they're not up to date on media things too as well. So yeah, I'm sure that they felt out of place doing that. But I tried to make them at ease as much as I could do, and I think for the most part we did that. But nowadays, like you say, things are different. So they have to be social media savvy now. And that's all part of being a farmer too, as well. So
yeah, it's kind of another thing that we have to add to
Yes.
our to-do list. Well, it's so fun for me to have you here today and to share some of this experience. And wondering if you have any sage advice for our team at Farm Show TV as we try our best to emulate what you so valiantly did for 30 years and try to share some positive stories about the industry. Any advice for us?
Well, I mean, I was with a network, and that's changed dramatically. The farmers are not getting their information from a large network anymore, obviously, so they're getting it through Farm Show TV or on the internet and anything. But I think what you have to do for sure is keep ahead of what's important in the farming industry week to week, and know what's going on and try to cover stories that matter to the farmers out there. And also tap into resources, like the University of Saskatchewan has all kinds of resource people there to tap into. I would look to them to get information and story ideas. Just basically try to feel what the farmers out there want to know and go after it if you can.
Yeah, there's no shortages of issues for us to cover, and we're hoping to get some good feedback too. I'm dying to know if you got feedback from your audience on any particular show. Were they often sending you feedback about the show, or just when you'd make them mad?
Both, I guess, yeah, positive and negative. But I guess when we did specials, like every time we covered Agribition or Farm Progress Show or Crop Production Week, it was a show that was just about that particular event. We got feedback on those shows a lot because people, hey, that's pretty cool. They'd see the innovations at Farm Progress, and they'd like that kind of stuff too as well. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here today, Bob. It's such a pleasure to visit with you again, kind of a trip back in time for me. I thoroughly enjoyed watching Farmgate, and I've talked to a lot of people about your show over the last week or so in anticipation of the interview, so they're excited to see you again too.
Oh, thank you, and good luck with your show too as well. And I got something here to pass along to you too as well. I'm passing my boots to you because my work boots, it's to you.
These are the boots you hung up. Wow, I think it looks like there's still canola seed in the bottom.
There might be, yeah. Likely. A lot of dust in there too, I think.
Thank you for these boots, Bob. I will wear them with pride. Really appreciate all of your time and energy, and thank you for this.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to this segment of Farm Show TV. You can watch this segment and all others on our website, canadasfarmshow.com. We'll see you there.
When it all comes down to it, good times are what you make of them. Why not pour yourself a great tasting Western Brewed Original 16? For a refreshing reminder, don't sweat the small stuff. Embrace it.